Today we are going to talk about Mini App version 2. So I'm covering two parts today. The first part is comparison between version 1 and version 2. Remember last time we had the guest Fikri to show us how to build RezoPay in Mini App version 1. RezoPay is one of the most popular payment gateway in India. And today, again, we are building RezoPay but in version 2 so that we can have a comparison between version 1 and 2. And the second part, I'm going to show you some new features added in version 2, including external requests, JavaScript function, file trigger, and etc. Most essentially, we have a new feature called one-time URLs. So in version 1, apart from the mini app, users still need to use inbound webhook for the triggers part to know that what is going on about the payment. Is it successful, or is it partially paid or cancelled? But in version 2, with one-time URLs, you can combine the inbound webhook inside the app itself, so user don't need to worry about how to use inbound webhook or how to learn that themselves. Moreover, with one-time URLs, you can also build a web forms inside a chatbot. So remember, when we need to gather lots of information from user, you need to ask many questions and gather them one by one. But now, with one-time URL, you can build a web view forms for your user, and after your user fill in the information one by one, click submit, then you can get a trigger and get the information from the web form. Okay, now let's get started. So on your dashboard, go my contents, then under my mini apps, this is my RezoPay by mini app version 1. And before I click it, let me open another tab for my workspace and click edit. Now on the left hand side is the information or introduction of the app. And okay, now let me again content my mini apps, and when you click create new app, so apart from the app name RezoPay by Mini App v2. Okay, so you can keep using version 1 if you prefer coding in that way, and choose Mini App 2 and then create. Alright, so the first difference is you can see that version 1 has a gray edit button, while version 2 got a green one. Okay, when I click edit, so the information goes to the settings from the left sidebar and click edit. Now you will see same as the version 1, so all the information is listed on the left hand side. So let's copy it, the logo, save, and the cover page. Okay, put a video ID here if you got any introduction video. And alright, so on the right side is the API scope that you can see here in version 1. So I'm leave it for now. Let's save it. Okay, now I have already got my basic information about the app. And the second thing to do in version 1, usually we go authentication, because we need to specify that which information we need to get from the user when they download the app. Okay, so in my case, I need to get key ID and key secret. So in version 1, we name it in this way under the params. And also in the connection, we use the API key in header. We use this sample data and use the basic auth for the key ID and key secret. Okay, so in version 2, you can go auth and then click inputs. So here is where you edit like what information you wanted to get from the user when they download your app. Okay, when I click edit, I can add item. So I need a key ID, save it to, okay, key ID. Okay, I can create fields, customer fields right here. Type in a new name and click it. So then this is a text variable, and it's you can choose string, text, number, or select. Select is for source. So if you wanted to use select, you need to edit the source from the left sidebar. Okay, number or string. String is like string won't keep the space or new line inside the text variable, while the text type will keep the new lines. So in my case, I should use a string. And this is a must, so I click required and placeholder. Let me get something. So the key ID usually it should start it with RZP and something like this. Okay, I will use it as my placeholder, then save. Okay, and let's get another one. Key secret. Key secret. And key secret. Text variable, and again string, it's also a must. Okay, description. Then let's save it. Now I already got two inputs, and you can always have a preview on the right hand side. So this is the placeholder, so you can see it inside the text field. Okay, so now save it. The second thing, okay, here you got another request here. So what does this one mean? Let me show you. Let me copy, save it first. And if you need to use the JWT token from email and API key, so in some case, those API require you to get users' email and their API key, and they need you to do an extra request to send the email and API key to this URL address and get a token for the following request. So in this case, you can use the request here, edit it, and put users email address and API key, whatever, and then send the request, map the token back to the app itself. Okay, let me put it back. And then the next step to do is to add the actions block. Okay, so I only had one action for now, which is get link. Okay, what do you do in Mini App version 2? Just go actions from the left sidebar and now click new action. Okay, so get link. Get link. Save it and click the edit button. Now I have two sections, inputs and outputs. So remember in version 1 we need to specify forms and mapping. So this is the form and this is the mapping. Alright, so I got a amount. Let me put amount title, save to a amount, which is a number variable. Okay, type number, it's a must, placeholder 1000, and okay, so this is the placeholder, and I can, let me copy the description, copy it and paste it. Okay, save it. And then on output, which is the short URL link, the payment link. Okay, short URL, payment link, short URL. I guess I need to create in the app fields first. Okay, short URL. Then when I refresh, I can see other app fields that I created before. Okay. I forgot to save amount number required. Save to amount placeholder 1000. Description save output short URL payment link short URL save. Alright, so now you can see that this action get link, I have already specified the inputs and outputs. So in version 1 it look like this. Get link and then the forms, which is the input, and then request. We will build a request later, but we specify the mapping first. Okay, now let me save it. Alright, so where should I put my request? Here, run workflow. So I'm going to create a new. So the main flow here is because we use the flow builder, the chatbot flow builder, which you've been already familiar with. So the main flow is kept here, but so in your chatbot flow builder, the main flow is triggered when user first talk to your bot. But in Mini App, the main flow is just as any other subflow. So it won't be triggered unless you specify or use a go-to step to jump to it. So basically you can ignore it and use just because only the actions here that matter, like telling which workflow or subflow that this action should jump into. Okay, so I'm going to create a new subflow called get link. Now go to flows, and when I open get links, edit flow. So the only thing I need to do is get an action step. Now we have only 4 steps left in the flow builder: action, condition, split, go to. So in the action step, it's changed a little bit. Let me change my theme first. Ice cream. Okay, now I only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, 7 action. External request, JavaScript function, set value, clear value, JSON operation, fire trigger, and the get one-time URL. So what we need to do is, for now, is a external request. So let me edit it. And let me copy the request URL. So external request, you've been very familiar with it. It's a post request, and in the payload, I need to provide this. Let me copy the payload headers, authorization. We are using basic auth, remember? So key ID, key secret. So okay, so in the body it should be raw JSON, and let me paste this. Okay. In authorization, I need to provide some test value so that I can run the test inside the Mini App. Okay, so headers, good body, authorization. Now let me click copy from the body formats, and now I can edit it. I need to put the amount here, and actually I need to remove the quotes because in the documentation they only require a number without the quotes around it. Alright, user NS. Let me remove it. User NS. So you can still call or you still got a lot of available system view inside the mini app. Okay, so for a month, let me try 2000. For notes, let me copy and paste my URL, my user NS, sorry. Okay, I think that's it. Now let me click test. Okay, now I get the result amount, and when I go to the very bottom, okay, in the notes, when I go to the very bottom, I got the short URL link right here. Now let me save it to short URL and add it. Okay, let's save it. Now basically, I have already finished the action, because when, let me publish it. So when user use this action, the mini app will run this workflow. The mini app will run this get link workflow. So which means they will go to the workflow and run the external request and get the short URL. Now the short URL is already saved in the app fields, and the app fields is specified as the output. So the user can get the URL link from the output. Okay, after I save it, now I can, let me got another tab. So let me go another tab to test it. When I go mini apps and install apps, I can see I have ResoPay mini app version 2 right here. Now let me select it, install it, put the ID here, and my secret. Okay, save it. Alright, let's go all bots and get the messenger chatbot to test it. Edit flow. Okay, so let me remove it first. Get an action step and integration and ResoPay mini app version 2 draft. Click it, edit action. Now you can see I got one action called get link. Click it. The placeholder is 1000, but let me try 3000 this time. The description is here, and this is a must. And the title, okay, everything all good. Now you can see the payment link is the title for the output, and I can save it to my the custom field in my chatbot. Okay, save it. And I'm going to use the same message step to put the link on a button. Alright, now publish and let's test it. Okay, now let me press the paid link. Now I have a page, the payment page, 3000. Alright. Now second part, one-time URLs. So I have already provided user with this web page to do the payment, but the question is, how do I know that whether do they process the payment or not? So in version 1 we have a section called triggers here. So when you click on it, you can specify the trigger name and a description, and then context. So what is context? Context is to specify that what data will you get when the trigger happens. So in this case, for example, I'm giving the product name and product ID to through the triggers to the chatbot. Right now in mini app version 2, let's go triggers from the left sidebar and create a trigger first. Payment. Paid. Okay, edit it. Now context, I need to, okay, I think we need to get some new app field first. Payment result. Okay, I'm going to send all the data. Payment result, save it, and also payment status. Okay, save it. Name already exists. Oh, I already got payment status. Okay. So in the trigger, now I'm wanted to payment result. I wanted to send the payment result back to the chatbot. Okay, save it. And we need to use one-time URLs for the trigger. Now let's create a new one-time URL called payment. Okay, click edit. And now we got 3 steps for each one-time URL. The first step is parameter, so we need to get the parameter first. So when I hit the listen to data payload, I got a test link to get the data. So now I think I can have a new tab to access to the request that I built here. So let me edit it. In the body, so I have already put according to the documentation, so they have a parameter called callback URL. So if specified, the Razorpay, they will redirect to this callback URL when the payment is completed. Alright, so I would like to put the let me get a new one-time link. So when I get a one-time link, when I get a new one-time link, I'm going to send it to Razorpay as a callback URL. Okay, get method, remove the comma. So this is where I need to put the test link. Okay. That's why I open another tab. Okay, let's listen to the data, copy it, put it right here. Now let's test it. So we do the payment process all over again so that we can get the real-time data. Now let's copy the short link, replace this one. Now, okay, 20. Now let me do the payment. This is a test card. So when I process the payment, okay, so I have jumped to this UChat one-time URL link, but now it's just a test link. But okay, when we go back, click done, and now here you are, the real-time sample data. Okay, preview the payloads. So I'm saving it to payment result, and I wanted to know the status, so I'm going to save it in payment status, edit. Okay, map it back to the app. So this link is the page here. So user will first jump to a web form. So if you have specified any information here, so let's say text response string, okay, anything. Okay, so if I specify any inputs right here, user will first jump to a web page with a forms. So I need to fill in all the forms and click the submit data so that I can jump to the web page that we design here. Okay, so once the page opened, the system will run this workflow, and in this workflow we're going to fire the trigger. Okay, thank you. Body text, and you can put some image if you need to, and the expire time period. So now I will run a new workflow called payment complete. Okay, edit. Now save it. So whenever a user open the web page, this flow is run, and I'm going to fire the trigger inside the workflow. Okay, I think we forgot to add a condition because we need to check that whether the status is paid or not. So status is paid. Okay, when it is paid, fire the trigger. Otherwise, do nothing. Okay, publish. Okay, so we need to add one more thing. So in the get links, we need to get one-time URL first before the request. One more step, payment complete, and save it to one-time link. Save it to one-time link, and in the payment, we need to send the one-time link to Razorpay so that they know where to call back. Okay, I think that's all good. Publish, and now let's test it. Okay, so when we go automation, triggers, and add new triggers, we can see Razorpay by Mini App version 2 payment paid has listed here. So whenever payment result. So whenever payment paid, send me the data and save into payment results. Okay, so we are going to payment captured. Maybe I get a new one. Payment paid. So I'm going to run payment paid when user successfully paid their payment, and let me print something. Thank you for your payment. And now result. So let me just print the payment result right here. Okay, I'm going to print everything. Okay, now let's test it. So in the chatbot, let's again go to the testing page. So let me run this again. Click the payment link. Okay, 3,000 card. Now I'm a user and I'm paying this payment. Okay, success. Alright, now I have already jumped to the forms. Let me randomly put something, submit. Okay, thank you, and this is the body text. Alright, in the chatbot, I have already received a message, which means it is triggered. So thank you for your payment. The chatbot now, it already know that user have successfully do the payment, and this is all the data, the result, including the text that I just inputted, and also the token, the Razor payment ID, Razor payment link reference ID. Okay, the status is paid. Okay, I've already got everything. That's how you use the URL to gather user information as well. Okay, so let's finally okay, so to build the trigger, you need to firstly create the trigger in the trigger section, and then you need to add URL links. You need to add one-time URLs and edit all the parameter. Get the you can have the real data coming in, or you can copy and paste some previous data to be here and map it, and then set up the forms if you need to. So for our case, the payment link case, I would suggest you don't put anything in the web form, because if the user don't press the submit link, it will not jump to the web page, and therefore the system won't run the payment complete workflow, which means your trigger won't work. So the chatbot don't know whether the payment is completed or not. Alright, and after you add the URL links, you need to edit the flow. Edit the get link flow. So you need to get the link before the external request and make sure you check about everything included inside the request. Alright, and finally in your chatbot, remember, go to automation and add the trigger. Okay, so what else? We have already covered the introduction, setting things, and the authentication, triggers, yes, action, yes, source. Alright, let me show you a little bit about the source. So when you go source, you can add new source. You can have static source or dynamic source. If you need to create them first and then edit it. Okay, static source, for example, gender. So save it, so edit it, and you can add male, value, female. This is the label. This is the real value, and save it. Okay, so gender is now a static source. You can also create dynamic source. For example, user list. So you can get a list of user by send out the request to get the real data, real-time data. Alright, everything. Let me get a JSON placeholder API to test it. Resource users. So this is the API to get users. So click test it. Okay, so it should be a get request. Alright, now I have get all the users, 10 of them, and save it. You can map it to so the path is the $ itself. You can copy it and paste it here. So I'm going to save everything. So I put the $ here, the whole JSON, and the value should be maybe ID. So we can copy it. So each one item, I want the ID to be the value, and I want the name to be the label. Okay, remove this. Okay, so for each item, I want the whole list, and for each item inside the list, I want their ID to be the value and the name to be label. Okay, save it. That's how you edit static source and dynamic source. You can use it now everywhere. For example, actions. If I wanted to add one more field to get users gender, I can do this. Type select and then source gender. So gender, and this is save to user gender. So sometimes you might run into an error that the name is already existed in the system, because those are some of the system fields. So you need to get another name. Okay, save it. So gender and user. This is just for testing. I'm going to test the user list. User, save to user. Okay, save it, and now let's test it in the chatbot. Refresh it. So if I now get another action, get link, now I have two more fields, which is gender and user. So when I click them, I can select male or female. Oh, I got a wrong spelling right here. And when I click user, so this is the real-time data, because when I click it, they send the request and get the 10 users now for me. Okay, this is how you use source. Finally, let me give you a little example for how to build a customized web form to gather user information. So I have already prepared a to-do list. So whenever you get stuck, your web page is not working, you can always come back and check the list. I'm following the list now, and to build a survey to get user information. Okay, the first step in triggers, create the trigger. So whenever you build a web page, you are gathering user information, you always need a trigger because you need to know that when user press the submit button and you wanted to get the information back to the chatbot. So you definitely need a trigger. So let's go triggers and create a new one called survey submitted. Okay, save it and edit it. And so specify the context right here. So if you just have a couple of variable together, then you can specify them one by one here. But if you got a lot of information, I would suggest you use a JSON variable. Let me create one. Survey result like that. Okay, JSON, save it. Edit the trigger context. Survey result. Or survey. Okay, save it. Now, step 1 done. Okay, then in one-time URLs, create URL, edit input output. To one-time URLs, create a new one called survey link. Okay, click edit and parameter. You can have data coming in, so I'm not going to listen to payload. I can list them myself manually. So let's get a note. This is okay, preview payload. So I'm going to only have a note coming in. Note text edit. Okay, so this is what coming in to the app. And now inputs, here is the survey list. So gender, let's use what we just created, the source. Gender required, user gender, save, and user ID, select from user list, user ID, because the real value is the ID. The name is just the title, the label. Okay, so I'm wanting to gather these two information. Now let's go web page. So when user finish it, thank you for doing the survey. Have a good day. Okay, so image. Thank you. Expire time. Okay, choose create a workflow. Remember the number 3 step, create a workflow and fire the trigger when the page open. So let's create a new workflow called survey submitted. Okay, so save it and let's go to the flows. So whenever the survey submitted, let's fire the trigger. Fire the survey submitted trigger. Publish. I think I missed one step. I need to put the data into the JSON variable. So survey result, load item from JSON, and I'm going to put the gender, user gender. So in this way, all the information is gathered in the JSON variable. And user ID. User ID, oh, not this one. User ID. Okay, all good. So if you are not sure about how to write a JSON, you can get some website JSON formatter, and you can put the information and have a test that whether it is in the correct forms. Okay, publish. Okay, step 4. In actions, create an action and set up the input output. So let's go actions. I'm going to create a new action called get survey link. Get survey link. Save it, edit. So the inputs, I need no inputs, only the output. So whenever user run the action, I give them a link. One time link. One time link for survey. Okay. Okay, save it. Save it, and step 5, create workflow, get the URL link when the action runs. So let's create a new workflow, get survey link. Add and go to flows, edit it. So inside the flow, I'm going to get one time URL, edit action, get survey link, and one time link. Okay, publish. I'm not sure why I'm getting 2. Let me remove 1. Refresh the page. So let me check that whether I'm okay. This is so right. And in the action, okay, it's the correct one. Good, save. Alright, then all done in the mini app part. So in the chatbot, let's go in automation, add the trigger, save the contacts. Okay, go automation, trigger. Now I can see that the action is added, the trigger is added, survey submitted. Okay, so whenever survey result, whenever survey submitted, I save everything to survey result. Okay, save it. Step 7, create a subflow when trigger. Okay, so whenever this one trigger, let's create a subflow, survey submitted. Let's add it. Go to survey submitted. So now I'm printing the result. Survey results. Okay, print everything in the JSON. Okay, publish. Okay, the final step, create the subflow. If you have one, then you don't need to create one. Anyway, add the integration and save the URL. Use the URL. So in your chatbot, let me go testing. And here, let me add the integration. So when I edit it, I can see in my second action is here now. Get survey link. So no input, just output, survey link. Save it. When I get the survey link, I am going to use a button. Please do the survey. Okay, get a button, open, select next step, open website, put the survey link here. So how do I transfer information to the mini app from the chatbot? Okay, you can simply after you put the survey link following by a question mark, then note equal to ABC. Okay, native, and save it. Alright, publish, and let's test it. Now please do the survey. When I open the website, I get a form, web form. Okay, gender, this is a must. and I can choose male, female. It's a static and user ID. When I click it, it get 10 users for me from the URL request. Okay, so I'm going to select the first one. When I hit submit, okay, now I jump to the page. Thank you for doing the survey. Have a good day. So all done. Now when I back to the chatbot, I can see that, okay, survey result is, what is in the gender is female, and the user ID is 1 because I choose the first person. Alright, now in the I can include one more information, which is the notes. Okay, so that I can see what is the information that giving into the okay, run the test again. Open the survey. This time male. The second person submit. Thank you again. Okay, so the survey result. Gender male, user ID 2, notes ABC. And you can change the notes if you need to, whatever. That's how you transfer the information from the chatbot to the the link expired. I think I need to run it because this link is already used. So when I reopen it, I get a section expire page. Now let me rerun it. Okay, open it, submit. Thank you. Now I get, okay, my notes change. Alright, so okay, so API scope, we've already seen that in edit. And what does the subscribe request and unsubscribe request here means? So in API token request, so remember if we need to access users and chatbot API, we need to do the request. So request sent to your domain to get users API token, and this is how you unsubscribe. So in version 2, you do them here. Okay, you can edit it and you can send the request and unsubscribe. Okay, I think we have already covered everything about version 2. Okay, I think that's pretty much all about what we need to introduce today.